My husband and I have 2.5 kids. My oldest is 10 years old, my middle child is 5, and I'm currently 5 months pregnant. My 10-year-old is from a previous relationship, and my 5-year-old is adopted. My sister got pregnant unexpectedly, saw adoption as her only choice, and didn't want the baby to go to strangers, so I stepped up. We did everything right. My sister went to therapy to consult on her choice, and I went with her to make sure she was sure, and we did everything that was recommended for adoptive mothers/birth mothers along the way. It wasn't an immediate adoption. I got guardianship, and we built to an adoption, and my sister was involved in the entire process. And again, never expressed any issues in the time it took to finalize. Just over a month ago, I announced my pregnancy. My 5-year-old knows about the biological relationship between her and my sister. Shortly after telling people about the pregnancy, my sister and I arranged to meet up in person in the park. She then told my 5-year-old to give mommy a hug, and my 5-year-old immediately grabbed me, and my sister got shitty about it. I asked her what she was trying to do, and she said that I had a baby on the way and assumed that I was done with the 5-year-old and was going to have a new favorite. I said I don't play favorites and don't know what game she's playing. My husband and I have 2. When my grandma passed away, she left each of her grandkids money to put them through college debt-free. But this fund stayed in our parents' names until we turned 18. My sister got pregnant her sophomore year of high school. She was panicking about college. The baby daddy left, and she hasn't tried to find him to get child support. All of that stress caused a hard, complicated pregnancy, but both are okay. She graduated this last December with about $2,000 in debt. I figured she used all the money grandma left for her pregnancy and had to take out a loan. I got accepted to my dream college, but my mom was insistent that I stay local to save money. I told her grandma left me more than enough, but that's when she told me. They used all the money that was supposed to go to me to take care of my sister and her kid and her expensive pregnancy. I broke down and just lost it crying. I was shouting how they screwed me over for the kid that fucked up. My sister got upset and asked me if I'd rather have had her live on the street unable to raise her child so I can go to college and have a good life. I said yes, it's not fair that she fucked up, got drunk, and slept with so many guys she doesn't know who the baby daddy is. But I'm the one who has to be punished for it. The argument got too heated, so I left. Did I go too far? I feel my mother-in-law is super passive-aggressive, rude, and disorganized. Leading up to my wedding, she always criticized me about my weight. After our wedding, she was kind enough to offer to store some of our wedding stuff. A year later, my mother-in-law announces that she's going to do a big vow renewal celebration. Thought it was a bit ridiculous for a 65-year-old woman on her 3rd marriage, but hey, it's her money. As the ceremony starts, the bridesmaids come down, and then enters the bride, wearing my dress. At this point, I'm raging. My husband and I confront her after the ceremony, where she denies and says I'm delusional for thinking it's my dress. I tell my husband we're leaving, but she starts crying and begging us to stay, swearing it's not the same gown. The next day, we go to her house to get the wedding stuff she stored. She gives us everything besides the dress, saying she lost it. After lots of screaming on my end and threats, she finally gets my dress. Lo and behold, it's the same dress she wore last night, except for the alteration of the corset and complete with her sweat and food stain from the night before. She starts sobbing and saying she thought it would look better on her because she's been working out so much and how she couldn't afford a new dress. I can now never wear my dress because she altered it to her size. My mother.
Story of the time my neighbor tried to pierce my belly button when I was 8. So you guys know an awful lot about, my neighbor's situation. She was known as the bully of our street. So anyway, one day she's like, okay, we're gonna play kickball. And I hated playing kickball because you know what kickball was to her? Having me stand behind a tree while she kicked the ball at me. Repeatedly. And you know why I had to stand behind a tree? So that neither of our parents would be able to see what she was doing. So obviously I was like, no, I don't want to play kickball. And she was like, we'll either play kickball or we'll play house. And I was like, okay, let's play house. So we go up to her room unsupervised with the door closed, and she pulls out her toenail clipper. And she tells me to pull up my shirt. I was like, absolutely not until you tell me what you're doing with that toenail clipper in your hand. She started convincing me that it wouldn't hurt and that it'll be a pretty belly ring when we're done. And I didn't know what a belly ring was, and she said an earring for your belly button. So I was like, oh, okay, word. Didn't go home with a belly ring.
My future mother-in-law is the absolute worst person I've ever met in my life. I'm 30 years old and my boyfriend is 31, and we've been together for 8 months. He's the sweetest and most caring man I've ever met in my life, but the biggest surprise is when I met his mother. I'm a natural redhead, so when we sat down for dinner, she asked me if my parents had the same color hair. And then she proceeds to ask me, does the carpet match the drapes? I looked over to my boyfriend, who seemed equally as shocked, but he didn't say anything. And when I didn't respond back, she said, don't worry, I'll ask my son about it later. She then went on to attack my appearance and said my hair was too curly and I really needed to learn how to run a brush through my hair and think about my appearance more when I'm out with her son. And when I lost my appetite, she told me it was a good thing that I'm watching what I eat because it would be a shame if I got any bigger. This was my first meeting with this woman, and as soon as I got into my car, I burst into tears until I got home. I told my boyfriend I needed some time. He went into apology overload, and this started by sending me flowers to my office every day and leaving me messages. He said he spoke with his mom and promised this would never happen again. With this reassurance, I decided to give it another chance. Am I the asshole for taking away my daughter's car for lying to my fiancé? I, 36-year-old male, have a 16-year-old daughter. I have full custody of her because her mom had a mental breakdown and has been in and out of rehab. This January, I started dating my girlfriend who is 21 years old. Then quarantine happened, and that time apart made me realize that I wanted to spend my life with her. So I proposed in May and she moved in, and our wedding is in October. Since then, my daughter has been a nightmare. She and my younger sister, who is 25, keep calling my fiancé the kid. My fiancé decides to invite my daughter out to go shopping. She kept trying to set a date, but my daughter kept saying she had an extracurricular activity she needed to tend to. So yesterday, when my daughter once again made up the excuse, I decided to follow her car. She ended up pulling to a diner, and I realized she was grabbing lunch with my younger sister. I was beyond furious. First at my sister for enabling toxic behavior, and second at my daughter for lying to her future stepmom. I ended up taking her car keys away from her. Her aunt then called and said I had no right to do so. I explained that she would not be getting the car back until she makes an attempt to bond with her stepmom. Am I the asshole for not...
Imagine you found your 50-year-old dad making out with one of your college classmates. Well, here's how that happened to me. 1 year ago, my dad came to my school and put up flyers. He said he wanted to give private Spanish lessons and make some extra money. 6 people showed interest and called him up, but he only chose Vicky, a really good-looking girl who always wore super revealing clothes. They were supposed to study inside the college library, but I found them making out at my home. I said, "What the hell are you two doing?" "Oh, hey, sweetie. Vicky told me she turned 18 last week, so I threw her a small birthday party." "Yeah, and your dad bought me a $2,000 necklace as a gift. Isn't that awesome?" That was the moment I realized my dad was a creep. Instead of dating a woman his age, he'd rather spend all of his money to date a younger girl. It was disgusting, but Vicky seemed proud of it. One time she pointed at me in school and said, "Yeah, I'm dating her dad." Imagine you...
I've been helping my friend plan her wedding for months. We bought her dress together, brainstormed over color schemes and decor for her big day. I was so excited. She had told me that she was going to take care of all the bridesmaid dresses, and all I had to do was give her my measurements. Then, at her bachelorette party, she mentions that she's already had a dress fitting with the other bridesmaids. I was a bit flabbergasted they had done this without me and asked if they had a dress in my size, and she cut me off and said, "Oh, I'll get it sorted." Next thing I know, she's not responding to my texts or messages. I kept trying to tell myself she's just busy with wedding plans, but I couldn't help but feel like something was up. Now it's about 2 weeks before the wedding and I still have no bridesmaid's dress to wear. I contacted the maid of honor and asked what was going on, but I didn't get a response from her either. I woke up to a text from the bride this morning that said, "I'm sorry, I feel really bad for saying this, but I can't find a dress in your size. I even tried changing the whole dress style, but nothing I found would fit you. You're too big for all the sizes I could find. I don't think you can be a bridesmaid anymore." I feel completely shattered. I was really looking forward to this. My whole family knows I'm going to be a bridesmaid and are really excited for me, and now I have to tell them I can't do it because I'm too fat to fit in a dress. My boyfriend and I have been on and off for about 4 years. We've had our share of problems that stem mostly from his parents. He comes from a very upper-class family, and we met when I was just waitressing and he was in college for a high-paying job. 6 months ago, I gave birth to a very much unplanned but beautiful baby girl. Of course, his parents were pissed about this, and from the start of my pregnancy, kept trying to say that they didn't think it was my boyfriend's baby. But when our daughter was born, they became amazing grandparents. They always offered to keep her times when we needed breaks, and it really helped us out, and they would always buy things for her, returning her with new outfits, bottles, toys, and etc. So anyways, a few days ago, my boyfriend came home, and he was in a pretty bad mood. He didn't want to tell me, but in the end, he decided it was best if I knew. His parents let it slip that they had taken our daughter to get a DNA test about a month after she was born. Of course, the results came back that my boyfriend was the father, but he was pissed that they would even do something like this without our consent. I was livid. I called his parents and immediately told them that they were cut off. I don't need them or their money, and I'm disgusted that they would stoop so low. They apologized and said they only wanted what was best for their son, and they can't blame me for trying to be good parents. When I was 27, my boyfriend proposed to me. We both have stable jobs and decided to plan the wedding immediately. Around the same time, my brother proposed to his 24-year-old girlfriend, and they started planning for the wedding as well. One day, my future sister-in-law called me to see if we can go over wedding planning. That's when she told me if I could get married in the afternoon and that she could get married an hour or two later, and then we share the reception. She said it'd become a great way for us to become sisters, and that this will mean the world to my brother. In reality, I know that they aren't financially well off, and she wants the fancy wedding without the fancy wedding price tag. I didn't really know what to say, but I told her that's mine and my fiancé's wedding. We planned it for us, and we want it to be about us. She exploded in anger and said I wouldn't understand how hurtful it is to see the amazing wedding that I'm planning and know that she couldn't have something like that. I told her I waited to get married so that I could afford the wedding I wanted, and she said she wants to get married before she's old and dried up like some people. She called me heartless and a selfish bitch. I stormed off, and my brother called me a few days later. He asked if I could please reconsider. I told him I didn't want to share my wedding day. My cousin in high school recently turned 18. She doesn't have a car and during her birthday weekend thought her parents were going to buy her one. When they didn't, she was pretty upset. I should note that I'm not very close with my cousin or the rest of my extended family for that matter. Anyways, my cousin texts me on the Friday before her birthday asking if she can take my car to the mall and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me, but I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. I wake up on Saturday morning to find that my car has been egged and TP'd. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw egg baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper, destroying the paint. I check my security cameras and I find my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalizing my car. I obviously press charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, saying she's just a kid and she's going through a phase. Saying things like I'm almost 30 and I don't remember what it was like at that age. Do you think I took it too far?